So this is 1.3 problem set, trying to get you started and getting some of these down a little bit. Looks like the first 1 through 28 might be pretty simple for you to do, but I want to do number 28 because that one looks a little tricky. Negative 29 minus a negative 4. Alright, so before we're starting, let's get all of our symbols written the right way. Remember what I said, when we have two symbols that are the exact same right beside each other, they change to plus. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the first number and the second number. First number is a negative, second number is a positive. The signs are different, so I'm going to take the difference between the two numbers and I'm going to put the sign of the largest number on my answer and I'm done. Okay, let's pop down to 33 to 42 here. And it says simplify as much as possible by first changing all subtractions to addition. Okay, so just like what we have been. So let's look at one like 38. So it says negative 7 minus 3 minus 6. So it says, first of all, let's change all subtractions to positive. So that is not a subtraction. That is a negative sign in front of the number. Because really, if it was a subtraction, you're trying to take 7 from something that isn't over here. There's nothing there. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave the negative 7 alone because there's nothing to subtract it from. And we're going to change this to a positive negative 3 to a positive or a plus negative 6. Now, we're going to look at this part first. What do I know about the 7 and the 3? The signs are the same. So when the signs are the same, you add the numbers and you put the sign on the answer. And then we're going to put the negative 6 on here because that's the next step. So we did that. Now we look at negative 10 plus negative 6. The signs are the same, so we add them. And we put the sign that is the same on our answer. And we get negative 16 for our answer. So that's how you do 33 to 42. And the ones for 43 to 50, those are the ones that can be a little bit tricky because of the way that they're wording those. So let's look at like number 44. Subtract 8 from negative 2. So we're taking 8 from negative 2. We're not putting 8 minus 2. Okay, so be real careful what you're looking at there. 45. Find the difference of negative 5 and negative 1. So when it says find the difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So we're looking at the difference between negative 5 and negative 1. And so see how our symbols are next to each other? I'm going to put a parenthesis there to separate them. Signs are the same. And I get negative 4 for my answer there. Now when you look at that, it says the difference of negative 5 and negative 1, it looks like you would say negative 6 because negative 5 and negative 1 is negative 6. But that's if you add them together. It says find the difference. That means you're subtracting them. And when you're subtracting them, you end up like what I have here, two signs that are the same. Negative 5 minus negative 1, which means negative 5 plus 1, which gives you negative 4 for your answer. So those are some examples of some of the problems that you're going to be doing in lesson 1.3. I suppose I should do some of the story problems or the applying the concept. So let's do a couple of those. All right, well, let's look at 65 on applying the concepts in lesson 1.3 problem set. The world's tallest mountain is Mount Everest with an elevation of 29,035 feet. Okay, so that's how tall Mount Everest is, above sea level. So let's make that sea level. The shoreline of the Dead Sea is said to be the lowest dry land point on Earth at about 1,355 feet below sea level. So we're calling this sea level. So if the Dead Sea is 1,300, well, in fact, what they say is the shoreline is at 1,000. So the shoreline, it just kind of goes down, and then here's the Dead Sea. And this is actually 1,355 feet below sea level, and this is 29,035 feet above sea level. So a big difference between those two. What is the difference between these two elevations? Meaning, how far is it from the top of Mount Everest to the Dead Sea? Okay? So that's what we're looking for there. What is the difference between these two elevations? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my 29,035, and actually when you look at it, or when you remember what we said about above and below, this is actually below sea level, so this would be a negative 1,355. Okay, let me put that negative on there. So it's saying, what is the difference between these two? Difference means the answer to a subtraction problem. And I have 1,355. Okay, so the difference between those two would be 29,035 minus the difference, and negative 1,355. So remember what we do when the signs are the same next to each other. We're going to make those into pluses, and we're going to add 29,035 to 1,355 in order to get the difference between the lowest point here, the Dead Sea, and the highest point here. Okay, and that would give us a big number above 29,035, but you can add those two up, and that is the difference between those two elevations. And that's it for problem set 1.3.